Dad, you're so corny.
Yo. Welcome back to the second installment of Corny Dads, the platform where we showcase modern fatherhood. We talk through issues as fathers and people's perceptions, and we hope to show them support through their journey. But we just a couple of corny dads that do dope things with our dope kids. CJ Snuggy Harris, the infamous one.
I'll be Yogi Den. Namaste.
At Corny Dad OJC, Osna Charles.
Hey man, they call me Chico. Some people call me Ace, but my kids call me Papa. You know what I mean?
Hey yo, make sure y'all follow Corny Dad OJC on TikTok. He's
so excited.
You know what?
His dad.
That'd be a great birthday gift, because today's my birthday. Last time we was here, it was Father's Day. So today's my birthday, man. Do that for me, man. So give me a happy birthday joint by following me at TikTok at OJC. No, Corny Dad on TikTok at Corny Dad OJC. You see how corny I am? I'm trying.
Hold up, I got a quick question. What does a corny dad do for his birthday?
Try to spend it with his son.
That's it, right? How corny is that, right? How corny is that?
That's pretty corny.
How corny
Try to
is that?
spend it with his son.
Yeah.
But like having kids is like having like little broke best friends. You know what I'm saying?
I'm hearing
stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? They're like broke best friends because they can't really do much for you. If I can't be broke, I'll be like, hey man, I'm looking to get this. What's up? I don't have no money. When do you ever have money? You know what?
Yo, I don't know what you're talking about. My kids got jobs.
Oh yeah, they go.
Even you or she only one.
Yeah.
My kid's definitely on the clock. My middle son, KL, he's an earner. Caden, he's more of a managing type. Like, he'll walk KL through how he should do something.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's a consultant.
Okay. And he definitely wants to split the profits.
Listen, Justice is the executive producer of the show, so
Yo, shout out to Jason.
I hope he got some duckings. I hope he got some duckings.
JC, you still can't beat me in horse, beloved, all right? I'll let you win them first games, all right?
Yeah, I feel sorry for him too, Mar.
Yo, shout out to Byron Purnell. He in the building today taking our photos. BCaption215 on Instagram. So when y'all see these photos come out, man, make sure y'all like them and follow my man, all right?
Word up. Shouts out to you, Byron.
Yo, shout out.
Yo, so today, we just rapping again. Our interaction is always natural. It's just us having conversations. This is not a podcast. It's more of a conversation / therapy session. So last episode we touched on towards the end, Big Den, right? We talked about Big Den a lot and his invisible influence through Little Den, and his legacy living on. But then, you and I talked. Ace told a story. I mean, so before we go today, though, you got to tell the liquor store story.
Oh, I'm going to tell the story.
You got to tell the liquor store story.
I got a story to tell.
So,
I got it.
But I want Den to kind of tell us firsthand what it was like. We talked from third-party experiences. Firsthand, what was it like living with Big Den and just growing up? So you said you did everything that he did, but I know there came a point where you like, man, I ain't nothing like him. You know what I'm saying? Because we, like me as a kid, I had my dad, and me being an adult, I'm like, as much as I'm like him, I'm nothing like him. Mm-hmm. But as an adolescent, I was just like him. Mm-hmm. Like, if you knew him, you knew him. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not a good thing for me to be just like him. So just talk about the day-to-day and the impact, not the invisible influence, but the true influence in what you experienced from your perspective, and how it like altered your mindset or what you had to go through, the good, the bad. For one, do you mind telling a mouse story?
I'll tell that, but not now.
All right.
So I'll give you a little background on my dad's childhood, right? Because I think it all ties in when we're talking about breaking generational curses and getting better as generations go on. So my father was one of 12, and his father wasn't what he wanted his father to be, right? His father was present but not present. We talked about that, right? You're not seeing, right? But they're there, right? And we know that. And my dad was. Let's just go. He was abused, right? Verbally, emotionally, physically, by his parents, and that childhood wasn't a great childhood. He was kicked out early. He had to figure things out for himself. He just wanted to be everything that his father wasn't. He wanted to give us everything that his father didn't give him. So therefore, he did exactly that. That was his burning desire. So therefore, we had all the Jordans. Therefore, every game, basketball, football, baseball, he was there. My mom was present. Tooth Fairy, did it. Christmas, perfect. Halloween, we did that as well. Every single thing he was there for. I mean, like, almost to like a fault, like overly present. Like sometimes coming to the game, coaching me, and he's not even my coach. To the point where people want him. You know, when you want your father to be at the game, you spoke about that last episode, when you wanted your father to be there. I didn't want mine to be there. It was too much. He was doing too much, right? But he would always say to me, Dennis, yo, I just want you to be better than who I am. That's it. Just be better than me. And let me tell you the issue with that, right? The only issue was he was perfect in my eyes. And my father did so much for the community. We talked about it last episode. So much for the community, so much for my friends, so much for me, our family, my mom. Everyone felt his vibe, right? His vibrations, right? Positive vibrations. He did so much for it. He had the first black community.
Vibrations.
Yeah, for sure. He had the first black African-American sneaker store, Buzzer Beater Athletics, right? Just trying to break every curse that was happening around us. So therefore, you know, it was a lot to hold up to. And he unfortunately passed from cancer when I was 18. Therefore, everything that, he did. You'll talk about this later, right? My group projects. You know, he did my first paper in college. Almost got kicked out for it. It was too good. You know, almost literally got kicked out. We can talk about that later. But he did so much for me that I became codependent on my dad. Right? Because he just wanted to be the best dad he could possibly be. But then I didn't do much for myself. So when he passed, you can imagine what happened. Right? I became lost. And that codependency was gone. I didn't have him, so I didn't know what to do. 15 years it took me to wake up to understand that he was still living inside of me. And it took a lot of these people that you see at this table right here to help and protect and be there for me when I couldn't help and protect myself. You know what I mean? So just having a father at that time, it taught me that, you know, it's some things that I gotta allow my children to do on their own. I gotta allow them to have faults and make mistakes and not always be right there to pick them up when they fall. And although, you know, and thank God for my dad, man. Like, I really thank God for my dad because I would never be the person I am now. And thank God for having him in my life. But yeah, that's my perspective on actually having them and then losing them. You know what I mean? So, hope that answered it.
Yeah. So, was there a point where it was like, what he wants me to do, I don't want to do? Like, so, like you know, in your teenage years, you kind of like, so when you're a kid, you look to your parents for like guidance. Mm-hmm. You ask them everything. You ask them permission. They kind of mold you into what they want you to be. But then there's always like a pivot in our adolescence to where we gravitate more towards what's cool. Like we like girls now. Our friends is our friends and we do what they do. So during that stage in your life, how did that affect you guys' relationship?
Well, of course, right? Because then you get to a point where you want to be. You don't want to be little then. You know what I'm saying? You want to be separate from that, you know, when they see you or when you see him, they see you type situation. And, you know, he wanted me to play certain sports and do certain things and be on, you know, play for his team and do that. And it just never worked out. Like we would clash because I was getting older and wanted to kind of do what I wanted to do and be my own person. So it was a difficult transition in that aspect and respect to it. And it turned back. I mean, there's stories. I mean, we have them. Not gonna get into them right now, but there's a lot that I did in that transition.
Why not? We got a little bit of time, baby. Give me one.
Yo, bro, I'll let C talk about that. But anything he would say to do, I would do that complete opposite.
Sounds about right.
Complete opposite, because I'm like, if you telling me to do this, you want me to be more like you. And that, in that case, I don't want to do that. I want to do something different. And I got into a lot of trouble because of it. And he always was there to get me out of it, man. Every single time.
So even when he got you out of trouble, so I didn't have nobody to get me out of trouble. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm in there. You know what I mean? I'm in there. It's like, yo, go get this. I see you in a couple hours. If you ain't here and I gotta go up, we got a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to be able to get you out of it, like, did it impact how you viewed him? So you saying, I don't want to be like him, but you got into the situations and it's like, all right, well, I got to humble myself and call my dad, man. I mean, like, knowing that he would be there. Like,
I think that's like, it's one of the biggest things. I'm not comparing it side by side by any means, but thinking about it with God, right? When you getting, you doing all this mischief, you ain't even thinking about God at the time, but as soon as you get caught doing something, you're in trouble. The first person you call, God help me, Lord.
Yo,
the last time, God, get me out of this one.
Yo, believe it or not, I kept my last promise to God. I'm in jail. I'm locked up. I'm like, man, God, you get me out this joint, I promise I'm never coming back here again. And by His grace. So look,
God did.
Yeah, God did. Like, no, I like, so it was like, all right, well, I just had to make a decision. I had to go through like a lot of stuff to keep my promise to myself and him. But like, yeah, like,
I really truly think that, and this is me on my path, that God was like, yo, listen, bro, like, you are taking this man for granted. You are not growing in yet respect. And I hope people understand this when I say this, that I feel as though God took my dad away from me for me. You understand what I mean? And not just me, I'm saying my family for me, because we were at 15 years stagnant, nothing, because we were still grieving I was still grieving my father, talk from my perspective, still grieving my father, still saying, why God, why Lord? And he's saying, look, go inside, bro. Like, go inside. He's still there. He's still here. And that's what propelled me to go on my journey, because I had no other choice. So, and I thank God for it. Like, it seems silly to thank God for that happening to us, but I'm appreciative and I'm grateful for it.
Push.
Yeah. That was a good jump.
That was
so Ease, right? Mm-hmm. You got to get into the liquor store story, because he talked about how
I love this story. I love this story.
So he talked about how everybody grieved the loss of his dad. Mm-hmm. And everybody knew him, everybody loved him. Mm-hmm. And for me personally, just a quick side note, to me that's kind of scary for me, because it's like, that's how everybody views me. So my sons, every time we go somewhere, the NBA guys like, hey, Snug, where you been? Hit me up. And I never hit him up, of course. But we get like all access and back, all this access, like, because I've done the work, right? So people accept me and they love me for who I am. And that's kind of like scary to me too. Like, dang, what if, my son Caden, if anything happens to me, he's going to take it the hardest. And they always take it hard, but him, yeah, that's crazy. But just that love that other people had for him, you experienced in the liquor store one time.
Let me just say this. I just think that, the four of us brothers that are sitting here at this table, we're all remarkable men. I think we all left our mark in our industries, right? In our families, in our communities, that, again, the spirit of Big Den lives on. Right. And let me get to the story, because this story is what ultimately really shaped my life and really shaped my perspective from who I was, who I am, and who I ultimately want to be. Right. So we was at a liquor store.
Y'all was together.
Yeah, me and Dennis, we was together.
What y'all drive there?
I prefer not to say.
Did it have spinners?
No. Yeah, I think it was past the spinner era. But anyway, me and Den, we were at the liquor store. I think the top dropped though. But
it was the top. Yeah, we dropped the top on them.
Yeah, we dropped the top. Yeah. But ultimately, what happened is we was at this liquor store, and me and Dan was just preparing for a good time. You know,
I'm sure.
we was preparing for a good time. So we would go to this liquor store, and when we go into this liquor store.
Such a corny dad. We're preparing for it.
We're just preparing for a good time.
Getting our libation, you know.
Yeah, we
all right, so
go
look.
and purchase some libations.
What kind of liquor was you buying for this good time?
I'm gonna keep it real with you. Back then, I was a vodka guy.
Heavy.
Now I'm a tequila guy.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. So anyway,
listen,
the brand don't matter. Unless the brand is paying us, the brand don't matter.
Depending on what kind of liquor it is, I can see what level of good time.
You trying to gauge a good time. It was vodka. We was there purchasing some vodka, and then purchasing some vodka.
Y'all crazy,
we was at this liquor. No. In all seriousness, right? We was at this liquor store. We went. We didn't purchase. We grabbed the liquor that we were going to purchase, and then when we got to the line, there was a brother there that was like, you could tell he was looking at Den like, yo, Lil Den? He was like, and Dennis was like, yeah. He was like, oh my God, yo, how you doing? How's your father doing? Oh my God, yo, let me tell you about your dad. And he just started telling us how great Den's father was and how he changed his life. And it's thanks to him, he's doing his thing right now, right?
Working at the liquor store.
No, he wasn't working there. He was working there. He was online. He was online. He's telling us all about this, right? And we're like, all right, cool. So this gentleman ended up asking Den, like, hey, give me your father's information. I want to reach out to him. He was like, nah, man, my dad passed away, like maybe it may have been a year, maybe 2 years. Like, yeah, he passed away, Yo, and the way that I watched this grown man, like I'm not talking about like a little man of stature, like a grown man start to weep in a liquor store. And then he offered to pay for our stuff, and he was like, no, this is the least that I can do. I wish I would have known. So he ended up purchasing the liquor. We didn't buy the liquor. He purchased the liquor just on the strength of the love and admiration that he had for Dennis's father and what Dennis's father was able to instill in him. You know, we saw him. He looked like he was doing good. He didn't look like he was on anything. He just looked like a brother that was out here doing his thing. He spoke about his family. He spoke about core values that back then we didn't really care about.
Right.
We were just like, oh ahead, man. We just trying to, we just trying to get out of here. We trying to have a good time.
My top dropped. They probably in my middle console right now.
Yo, man, you know they can be riding right now, right?
No, but that was the truth, and honestly, that was a changing moment in my entire life, and that's a moment that I will never forget. Was the fact that I saw what Big Den meant to the community, right? I saw and I understood what Big Den meant to this man that didn't even know Dennis. Dennis didn't even, little Den, right? Dennis didn't know him. Didn't know him from a can of paint. But what he did was he provided, I know Den back then was like, yo, I hate this, right? I got it. Every time I meet somebody, they got to remind me that my father's gone, right? I got to talk to them about my dad being gone, right? But for me at that moment, selfishly, it was a moment that I didn't necessarily experience because I'm not with him all the time, right? But it was a moment that I experienced and I was like, yo, you know what? I'm looking at life all wrong. This is what life is supposed to be like. If and when I have a child, I would want to make sure that I leave behind such a legacy, right? That my child don't have to worry for nothing. It's not necessarily about somebody purchasing something from them at a liquor store. But my son right now, he's 11. One day he'll be 18, right? He's gonna need an internship, right? I just hope that I impacted somebody's life in a way that they provide him a dope internship, right? God forbid something happens to me, something happens to my partner, his mother, right? God forbid, right? I want our legacies and the impact that we have to surpass the flesh, right? Where we left something like Den left.
That invisible influence.
That invisible influence, legacy. legacy. What legacy are you leaving? And legacy doesn't necessarily mean millions and gazillions of dollars. It just means be good to your people.
Come on,
Be good with your people.
Absolutely.
You feel what I'm saying? Be good with your people. That costs you nothing. You see somebody that ain't doing too well, ask them, hey, how you doing? Yo, and not how you doing and expecting them to say good and walk away, right? We do that all the time. Hey, how you doing today?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm good. No. I could tell there's something wrong. Come here, let me holler at you for a second. But I'm talking about kids. I'm talking about adults. I'm talking about grandparents. The other day, no exaggeration, I'm driving, and I see this old lady with a black eye. I pulled over. I was like, miss, what happened?
Wow.
And she ended up telling me that she fell. But if she would have told me something different, we would have had to address it differently.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying?
Wow.
So again, it's not about, as men, as fathers, right? A lot of us, we feel like we can't be in our child's lives because we're not providing, right? It ain't about the monetary. It ain't about the monetary. You dig what I'm saying? Yes, the monetary's good, yeah, depending on your situation, the mother of your child may be on you about the monetary, but just be there.
Be there.
Be there.
Right.
Be there.
Just to be there.
Just be there. Like seriously, man.
Right.
Like my son, I love him to death, man. There ain't nothing that I wouldn't do for him. And I feel like me and Dennis's experience is the complete opposite, right? Because Dennis just told you how he wished his dad would just go. I'm pretty sure my son feels like when I'm at the track, JC, let's go, right? I know he feels like, oh my God, right? I wish this guy would shut up.
Wait, so you was at a track meet 2 weeks ago, and we all on the phone.
Yeah.
So he's like, hold on, I'm on the track meet, hold on. Go, Jason!
Yeah. See, in this day and era, in this day and age, right, there's no reason for you not to be a good dad, right? There's no reason for you not to be a present dad.
Right.
We were on a conference call. I'm there cheering my son on, right? If it was somebody else, I would have hit mute, but y'all part of the family, so I let y'all hear. Like, y'all nephew's out there doing his thing.
Right.
But the truth is, man, it's just being present. Yeah. And I think that the dopest thing that I learned from Dennis's father was that his presence meant so much. Because his presence was genuine.
Right.
It was a genuine presence. You feel what I'm saying? So, like I was saying, me and Den, our lives are the complete opposite. Like me, I wish my dad was there. I wish he was available. I suffer, honestly, from a lot of abandonment issues due to, at the hands of my dad. You feel what I'm saying? When I was 5 years old, I watched my dad pack up, leave the hood to go live in Queens. So you got to understand, I lived in Brooklyn, New York. I lived in Babylon. Right?
Trenches.
I lived in the trenches, 22nd and Newkirk. And I'm not talking about the new 22nd and Newkirk. I'm talking about the old Brooklyn, not the new Brooklyn. You feel what I'm saying? So I had to be on the 4th floor in my grandmother's apartment watching my dad bring in a moving truck, right? He lived across the street to move to go to Queens, New York, right? To a house with a pool, with a backyard, with a front yard. I didn't have a front yard.
Big front yard too, by the way.
A big front yard. And for me, especially back then, it was a big backyard. He had a pool. I've never swam in a pool before. I never went to a public pool because
Do you know how to swim?
No, I don't know how to swim. Yeah. But my son know how to swim. But my son knows how to swim.
Facts.
You feel what I'm saying? But my son knows how to swim. I can't swim, but my son knows how to swim. See, and so for me, it was different. So, some of the abandonment issues that I suffered it at the hands of my very own parents. Like, my dad, I watched my dad move. And he moved on up. You feel what I'm saying? And he left me right there in the hood. I would hear stories about kids in my neighborhood going to my house, right?
Wow.
And I put air quotes. Come back like, yo, your house is awesome. And I'm like, yo, really? I ain't never been there. Right? And then, man, listen. My mama did the best that she could do, but I also felt like I was abandoned by my mom, right? Because my mom had to go find a life, right? She had to work 2 jobs. She had to do what she needed to do, but in doing that, she left me and my little sister behind, right? In order to go find a life, in order to go chase a life, right? And shouts out to my grandmother, who was there to basically pick up the pieces for us.
Wow.
You feel me? She was able to pick up the pieces for us. And, the last episode, I talked about my grandmother and I choked up. But because I was the only stable and consistent person
Matriarchs.
that I had in my life.
Right.
right? That was my moral compass. She was able to instill a certain level of discipline, but at the same time, just that gentle touch. You feel what I'm saying? That made you feel love. So again, our situation is different. My dad, today, if I had the dad that I had today, back then, ain't no telling who I would be today, bro. My dad calls me every day. There isn't a day that goes by that my father doesn't pick up the phone and call me.
But there's one thing for sure, you wouldn't be who you are right now.
I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't go through what I went through.
Right, that's important.
You feel what I'm saying? I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't go through what I went through. But my dad, today he plays an instrumental role in my life and everything that I got going on.
So I got a question. So is the memory of your father packing up and moving your earliest childhood memory of him, or was that the most influential?
No, the earliest childhood memory I have of my dad is him being violent.
Oh.
Violent. My dad used to be violent. That's the earliest memory that I have. My dad being violent. The most traumatic was him moving away.
Right. Okay. So now it comes back to you, right? He said his earliest childhood memory of his dad is being violent, and then the fight in the hallway happens, and he stood his own. So this is what I mean by like the impact of just our memories of our earliest child memories. Like, so, Ace, what's your earliest childhood memory of like your father?
Man.
Versus the most traumatic.
There's a crazy verse. I think it was Nas that said it. He said like his dad, he would see his dad while he drives through town and wouldn't even stop and keep going.
Wow.
That was a real life event for me.
Wow.
I was with C one day. We was going back 26 in the trenches.
Yep.
And we driving, and I'm like, oh shoot, there go my dad right there. She's like, what? Like you want to stop? I'm like, nah, man, let's keep going. Let's be out of here. You know what I mean? And it didn't come from a place of malice. It just came from a place from like just not knowing. I don't know you, bro. Like I know who you are, but we never we don't have that real connection. Like my dad used to love to travel. Like we've been to the Disney Worlds, went to Florida and stuff like that, and we'd be around each other for hours because he would drive in a car. We'd be in the car for 12 hours, 13, 14 hours, but we really didn't have a connection. Like every time, it would be an issue with something. Like, yo, why are you doing this? Like, I think he referred to when we get to a certain age, our style was different. Like he was more of a he was more of like addicted. Like, yo, do this, like this and that, and it was like, why? I don't really know you like that, Like, why would I oblige to your rules?
Wow.
Where I was born and raised at was literally 2 blocks from my dad's house. I can count on one hand how many times I've been to my dad's apartment, which he lives to this day. And that was very vital. What's the craziest thing it would really hurt me. So as my son got older, kids are observant. We think that they're not peeping stuff, they're not seeing stuff, but they do. Yes. And my dad, or my son said to me one day, he said, hey dad, like, where's your dad at? Like, what's his name? How does he look like? And when I mean, it hurt the core of my soul, because on his mom's side, he knows his grandfather, he knows his mom's, like, his grandmother, like, they're there every day. Like, every day the grandfather's old, like, to hear that coming from my son, that shit broke me. It was like, yo, damn. Yeah. And, I've always made a conscious effort to be like, yo, I'm not gonna not allow my kids to, know their grandfather. But we gotta meet at a certain point. Like, if I'm like, hey, they're available, it's available. If you want, you can come. Because at this point, I've made peace with the situation. Like, hey, listen, our time has come. It came and gone. No big deal. However, your grandkids are here. If you want to make peace with the situation,
this is the perfect opportunity.
This is the perfect opportunity. Right. And guess what? I'll be okay with that. As long as you have the relationship with your grandchildren. Hey, I'll be like, you know what? He's making amends. But that's never really occurred. So I've always had to kind of carry that on. And I got a double whammy. I got mommy issues and I got daddy issues. But we'll talk about that further along.
For sure.
But like I said, like for me, it's all about self-development. And I put a lot of importance in nuclear family. That's why I said, like, when you said earlier, like, yo, this is like one of your best. I'm like, nah, he's not my friend. I don't use like best friends.
Right.
You my brother, like you family.
Right.
When we've gone through certain things and certain experiences together, busting up, what, 4 wings, fried rice? You get one side, one side.
I'm glad you said that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when you go, when you have certain experience with people, like sharing clothes and stuff like that, that ain't friends, that's family.
Right.
And I have a huge nuclear family. And that's what has kept me even keeled. So, same way his grandmother brought him to church, my grandmother brought me to church. And from there, I was able to, you know, have my brothers and have this extended family, which, you know, we still are in touch with today. And even if we don't speak months on end, as soon as we get up, we pick back up where we left off.
I used to steal his gear.
All the time.
I used to go to his house and go to his closet and be like, yo, I'm gonna take this, and I used to stuff it underneath my shirt.
And I can never get like,
wait, Ace, how long have you been 6'3"? I just want to know.
It was the baggy era.
It was the baggy era.
So
it was the baggy era. I was
right,
cool.
it was good.
I was cool.
No growth spurt. No
I
growth
was
spurt.
cool.
No growth spurt.
Yeah, yo, that's dope, though.
Yeah.
I think I'm
about to say you ain't gonna go.
I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna go.
You shall go.
So, my earliest childhood memory of my father is Christmas Eve, and he is it statute of limitations on crimes?
Yeah, 10 years. 10 years.
All right.
I think you good.
So look, he had a speakeasy, and he used to host card games. He used to gamble every Friday night or whatever, and something went left. I was on my dad. I was sort of like my sons are, like they on me. I was on him. I did everything that he did at 3 years old, and something went left, and he ended up being shot while I'm right there. That's my earliest childhood memory. And it's crazy, I was having a conversation with my brother's mom yesterday. Shout out to Dub and Mom, see ya.
Dub and Mom, see ya.
So, but I was having a conversation with her yesterday, and she didn't, I kind of had to tell her like the truth, right? Mm-hmm. I said, Mom, you got to understand, like things that happen in our childhood that we may not remember, it affects or impacts us in our adolescence. And she was like, Snuggie, what you mean? Like, so I'm like, well, I said, my dad got shot at 3, but at 13, after he passed, the first gift that I got after he passed was a gun, right? And she said, Snuggie, that was the devil. I said, nah, Mom, it's memory. It's my subconscious, because I refuse to let happen to me what happened to him. And now I don't have him to protect me. So now that's my earliest childhood memory that kind of shaped who I was through my adolescence. But at the same time, our relationship, the most traumatic to me was losing him, because I lost my protector in my eyes. So my protection came from that gun I received at 13, based off of my earliest childhood memory of my father. So, and I didn't learn any of this until therapy in 2020, like just trying to heal, recognizing that something needed to be done differently within me, so that way moving forward as a man, a father, a husband at the time, a partner, these things had to be addressed. So that's why like the invisible influence and like all of that stuff lives within us, whether it be from Big Den, your grandmother, and just that village that you had. All that stuff is important. So taking these memories and just trying to figure out how it applies to where we are, and where we're headed and what we're trying to leave our sons to. And it's almost impossible, because Den went through this, he experienced it. It's almost impossible to be the perfect parent to where your kids will want to follow in your footsteps. There'll come a point where they'll have to figure out for themselves who they are. And at the time, my wife, when I had my first son, she wanted to name him Clarence Jr. And I'm like, nah, man, like, he don't let him be him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I just heard LeBron. I listened to The Shop, and he was talking about how Bronny changed his name from LeBron to Bronny, and the world recognizes him as Bronny. I didn't want my son to have to go through that. This is early in 2013, so I named him Caden. And she's like, "Why Caden?" Because I've researched everything. I'm a nerd. I wanted his name to mean something, and it means little warrior, little fighter. So whatever he goes through in life, he'll fight for anything. He'll fight his way through it. He'll overcome anything. And then you got KL, which is victorious when victorious people. That means he's a natural leader. He'll overcome anything. He's a winner. And then Kaysen is just his name means untainted. He's uninfluenced by anything that you got going on.
I love that.
And his middle name means winner. So he's an uninfluential or untainted winner.
Love that.
And anybody who knows him knows that young boy does what he wants. Like you have to make sense of it for him at a young age. And what I'm doing with my older two sons now is that I'm not telling you what to do. I want you to make your own decision, process it, and then make it. So what's important to me is about taking these things that we know that impacted our adolescence and then minimizing the learning curve. So like process these issues early so that way you don't have to process them later.
Absolutely.
So yeah, like that was the impact of my father early on. The negative experiences that kind of are shaping my fatherhood style. But it all matters. So like when I ask you guys these questions, especially for you then, because you had him. You had him for 18 years and he was overly involved and you hated it. And then you had your father, but then your childhood memory is him moving away and then him being violent, but you held your own in the hallway. Now it's connecting the dots. So now you're overly involved and you can still hold your own, but you use it in a way to where it's positive. It's more so a defense mechanism. I'm going to defend myself. And Ace, and you like, no, I'm giving you the opportunity to mend your wrongs by having a relationship with your grandkids. So just filling those gaps, and I think that's why just having that conversation about Big Den and recognizing what his legacy was, his invisible influences, is important. Because to the people listening, and this is the first time we've had this conversation, to the people listening, there may be somebody in your life that has an invisible influence that you may be taking for granted at this moment. So yeah, like Big Den had that influence. We all have that influence in our perspective or respective industries. And now it's just like, my sons don't respect NBA players. Like it's like, oh, it's just another NBA player. You ain't LeBron. Can you beat LeBron? Like, all right, then whatever.
So Clarence, let me ask you a question real quick. So Christmas for you now, right? Knowing that you're, seeing your dad being shot at the age of 3, how has that shaped Christmases for you? How do you work through the holidays? Does it have any?
No, that doesn't have any impact. I think over the years I was so used to not getting anything, and I don't even think about that memory. Like I think the memory of not getting gifts for so long had an influence on my celebration of just the holidays. It's like, okay, I don't know how to receive gifts. I only know how to give them. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like I've never gotten anything.
Right.
So when people give me stuff, it's like, oh, thanks. Like, and I hate when they stay in there and wait for you to open it, and they think it's something you want. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, yeah, thanks. Oh, this is great. And it's like, what the hell am I doing with this?
Yeah,
like, it's awkward now. Like,
I don't know what to do with this thing.
Nah, but that's real. I think I have the same issue. I have an issue with accepting gifts. Right. I have issue with accepting gifts. Like I would just be like, this is awkward. this is super awkward.
What's attached to this gift? Like,
yeah, right. It's not necessarily what's attached to this gift. It's for me, when I receive gifts, I'm gonna say in the past when I received gifts or when somebody did something nice for me, I would think to myself, but you're gonna bounce at some point, right?
Right. I think
you're gonna bounce at some point, right?
This is your parting gift.
Yeah, this is your parting gift.
Wow.
Like what else is like? Because to me, like again, the fact that this all ties back to me watching my dad drive off, right? The abandonment issues, right, and certain insecurities and certain things that whether we know it or not subconsciously, right, that has been instilled in us by the hands of our own parents. Like, you feel what I'm saying? Because they're our first teachers, right? They're the first people to teach us how to love. They're the first people to teach us how to be. They're the first people to teach us how to defend ourselves, if they ever teach us how to defend ourselves, right? Because we could talk about some other stories, right? About some other men and about some other kids that I know that don't really know how to defend themselves throughout any type of situation. They just okay with being a punching bag. But I'll say this. I think that, you know, as far as gifts are concerned, like that's a huge issue for me because it's uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable. Now, give me all my flowers. I want my flowers. Give me all my flowers. I'm not healed, but give them to me. I feel better about receiving them now.
I think for me, the gift itself isn't important. I think if my sons make me something, I still got pieces of paper that my sons wrote me notes on, like "I love you, Daddy," with a little stick figure and a beard. So I don't think the gift itself is important. And shout out to my kid's mom because she kind of shifted that for me. She made it like, especially Father's Day. What she did was she would make a collage of my first Father's Day with Caden. She made a collage of him being 1 month old, these little baby pictures, and it had a poem called "Walk With Me, Daddy," that she hand wrote in all these colors, and she framed it. And those words, even though the poem was written by somebody else and it was just rewritten in her handwriting, those words stuck with me. So now I had to figure out how I can accompany my son on his journey. So it's we always say, like, a lot, especially men, we say we want our kids to do certain things. Like, my son's around basketball all day. I refuse to be their coach. And I used to train NBA players. So it's like, I don't want to be a coach. I only want to be your father. I only want to be your dad. So recently, my sons want to play basketball, but they only want to be coached by me because that's where they're comfortable. I want you to be uncomfortable because that's how you grow the fastest. But I don't want to tell you the destination is the NBA and then be a part of your journey. Like, I want to just accompany you on your journey. So I'm gonna be here with you. Like, whatever you go through, I'm here. You can talk to me about it, but I'm not holding your hand. I'll process it, figure out if it's something that you really want, minimize that learning curve. But those words kind of shape that for me, though. So when people give me gifts, I like handwritten stuff or letters, something that comes from you. I always say I should write Hallmark cards. I probably, you know what I'm saying? Because when I write something, whether it's for somebody else or advertisement for somebody or whatever, it's from the core of me, but it makes sense for what I'm writing it for, and I know for a fact that what it is going to impact the masses of what the message that you're trying to get across. But it's literally like, you know how to sell anything. You play the heartstrings of whatever you're trying to sell. Like, what is it? You know what I mean? Like, once you figure out the core values of the product, or whatever. But yeah, like, that's what. Like, yeah, give me some handwritten stuff. Like, tell me what you feel about me. So it's funny, like, even in relationships sometimes, like, people will say, "I was just talking about you today." I'm like, "Well, what'd you say?" What did you say?
I don't know exactly what you said.
Tell me what you said.
Yeah, and it's like, what you mean? Like, no, what you say? Like, I was just telling them how great you are. No, that's cool, that's great, but tell me what you said. So now tell me exactly how you told them, because now I can see what you're feeling about me, and that makes me want to keep going for you.
So let me bring it back as far as like gifts are concerned. I think I've changed. Well, put it this way: I'm still not a believer of like gifts. Like, if you're gonna give me a gift, give it here. I'm gonna take it. But like I said, my thoughts changed about it. But one thing that my partner has taught me was it's more about the experience. Like, forget the gift, right? Let's just continue to have great experiences.
Build great memories.
Yeah, and great memories. Because ultimately, that's what lasts, right?
That's true.
Whatever these tangible things is, whether you gave me this water, guess what? I'm going to drink this water and it's going to be gone. I'm going to throw it away at some point, right? It's done. But this experience, this memory that we have, like, honestly, this right here, we're going to remember this for the rest of our lives, right?
Yo, this is literally documentation. So people don't understand, like, when you bark out on, like, in the media journey, like, whether it's making songs, whether you're writing poetry, whether you're recording videos or you're on video and you're talking and stuff like that, the things that you say live on. Like, your voice lives on. So if something happens to me, my sons can go on Apple Spotify, iHeartMedia, and they can hear my voice and hear what I'm saying about them, they'll learn about me as a person. And I think that's important as a parent for them to learn about you as a person. Like before my sons went to bed, when we were living together, I used to go ask me a question about me. I used to tell them all these stories to where I used to FaceTime them like, yo, man, can you tell them the story? Because they don't believe me. You know what I mean? And they'd be so excited. Can we call such and such so they can tell us the story? Yeah. And so they learn about me as a person and not a parent, because I didn't get to know my parents as parents. People until I was older.
Correct.
Learn about me now.
Correct.
So that way, your perception of me is different than people can't lie on me. Because one, I tell you the truth. I acknowledge it, and it may not be directly to them because they don't want to accept the truth at the time, but eventually it's like, no, that's not true, you know what I mean? But they don't know that it makes them look internally to say, like, am I tripping? Maybe I didn't give him a shot. Maybe it's me, and I want people to do that. Like, people say, oh, you need to fix this about you. I say, okay. And I fix it. But because they already feel a way about the way I was to them, they don't accept what I fixed.
They don't see the growth.
They don't see the growth.
They don't see the growth.
And that's the thing, is my sons and I, we say, yo, you can be bitter or you can be better. Which one you gonna choose?
Better and better.
We gonna be better every day.
That's it, man.
I think that's a wrap, man.
I think it's a wrap.
I think it's a wrap.
Yo, be bitter, be better. Shout out to Byron, he's here again, and Be Captured. Follow him at Be Captured 215 on Instagram and any other platform, and click the link in his bio, see his website. Shout out to Bravery Studios and our engineer Marv. And yo,
Bravery up.
Hey!
Yo, shout out Corny Dads IG page, man.
Corny Dads. Yo, we got an IG page.
Yo, we got every platform. YouTube,
Twitter,
all of it.
At Corny_Dads. You know what I'm saying? So check us out.
Yo, check it out. Yo, send us emails, man. Connect with us. Talk to us.
Don't send me no emails.
send Corny Dads email. And, somebody read it that's not Dennis.
For sure.
That's not the Yogi any. That's Dennis.
Yo, and ultimately, if you guys are interested in coming on the show, please reach out. If you guys have interesting corny dad stories that you guys want to share with us, reach out to us. If you guys got clips or anything that you guys would like to share on any one of our pages, just reach out to us. Just do it!
Yo, and just stay corny.
Me so corny.